Thank you, Mr. City Attorney. Welcome to Midwest City Council's first council meeting of the year. We'll try not to do too much damage tonight. That's a joke. You can laugh. I hope everybody had a good Christmas and a good New Year. Glad everybody's here. We do have several people that have signed up to speak. I do want to remind you that once you step up to the podium, you have 4 minutes to make your point. Now, if the council does have additional questions or they collectively to vote to extend your time, then that can happen, but you do have 4 minutes to get to your point, and we would ask that you stick to that. So with that being said, I would ask you to stand and ask Mr. Sullivan to come down and offer the invocation. I do want to welcome two special guests tonight, Cadet Hudson. He's a senior at Midwest City High School, and he is planning to join the Army National Guard and go into nursing after he graduates. And Cadet Carter, he plans to go into some kind of networking when he graduates. Thank you, gentlemen, for being here, and they'll be leading us in the Pledge of Allegiance. Please stand for the invocation.
Would you bow with me, please? Gracious Heavenly Father, we thank you so much for this beautiful day we enjoyed today, Father, and this occasion for this council meeting tonight. And we thank you for blessing us with a new year. Father, we just ask that your will be done in 2024 and that we seek your will above all things. We thank you for these men and women who serve on this council and their willingness to sacrifice their time and their families as well in this capacity. We just ask your blessing be upon them tonight, the decisions that they have to make before them. We ask that your wisdom and discernment be upon them, and that you give them peace in those decisions as well. Thank you so much for the great city, state, and nation, and freedoms we enjoy in this place. We thank you for men and women who are willing to sacrifice all over the world to guarantee our freedom to assemble like we're doing here tonight. Thank you for your Son. We thank you for having a plan to redeem us, and we ask all of these favors in your Son's holy name. Amen.
Now would you please join us for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We do have a proclamation and to honor one of our employees, so we'll get to that. Ladies and gentlemen, this is Pete Singleton. I've often said that, I get direction from several different directions. But anyway, this is Pete Singleton. He's one of our employees, and I'm going to read his proclamation in a minute. But I've often said that Midwest City has been blessed with the best employees in the state of Oklahoma. They go out every day, do their job, and do it well, and they service you, the citizens. And so when you see somebody in a city uniform or one of our employees, just tell them thank you for what they do, because it's 24/7, you know. And next week we got some rather nasty weather coming in, but I'll guarantee you they'll be out there doing their job. So again, this is Pete Singleton, and he's our Employee of the Year, and actually the Millennium, I would say. But anyway, whereas in 2023, City Manager and Human Resources implemented a new employee recognition program called the Employee of the Month. And whereas this program is to recognize employees who exhibit exceptional job performance, professionalism, cooperation, innovation, leadership, respect, and/or volunteerism, going above and beyond to carry out the city's mission to maximize the quality of life of our citizens through professional services, proper management, and existing resources and appropriate planning. And whereas the 12 deserving employees who received the Employee of the Month award, Pete Singleton was the recipient of the March Award and was declared the Employee of the Year. Whereas Pete has been with the city 28 years and has previously served in stormwater at the water plant before taking his current job as project manager for engineering and construction services. And whereas he was selected in part based on his drive to find new ways to improve and go the extra mile for the city, and is known to be consistently reevaluating projects to ensure that no issues are repeated and implementing professional cost-saving best practices where applicable. Whereas one of Pete's most outstanding qualities is his friendly demeanor that shines through as he helps anyone at any time, and his willingness to volunteer for jobs that most others would not take on, such as his long-term commitment to the maintenance of the SCIP, the Soldier Creek Industrial Park Recreational Trail, making him a great ambassador for our city. So therefore, I, Matt Dukes, Mayor of Midwest City, do hereby proclaim Tuesday, January 9th, as Pete Singleton Day, and ask that you express your appreciation for Pete's hard work and continued dedication to this city. Is it hot in here? Okay. We got one more.
So this is the 2023 Employee of the Year Award for the City of Midwest City. So this is the first year that we have done the format. We've had Employee of the Year before, but this is the first time we've done a format where we've recognized an Employee of the Month, and then from the 12 Employees of the Month, we recognize the Employee of the Year. We have a committee from HR and from the City Manager's Office, and we have so many great employees in this city. I don't have to worry about how long it's going to be before we run out of really good employees to recognize, because we'll never run out of them. We're so fortunate. But when it came to making this decision, we bickered back and forth here and there because there's so many good people, but when it came to making the decision on who's the Employee of the Year, it was a unanimous vote. And, so I didn't get to see you at the Christmas party, and I'm glad we're getting to do this tonight so I can see you face to face. But I really appreciate Pete. I have a great deal of admiration. We give him projects and he gets it done. And he does it well, and nothing stands in his way. So, here's that.
Party pick. Congratulations.
Thank you, gentlemen.
You bet.
Thank you very much.
Oh, don't forget your day. That should get you a pass, an extra day off.
I already took care of that part.
Yeah. You got a day off. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, now we'll get down to business. Mr. Lyon, the community-related announcements.
Yes, Mayor. So since we've had our last council meeting, we've had 2 sales tax checks come in for City of Midwest City. The first was the December check, which actually doesn't take in the Christmas season. It's the first part projected in December. And our sales tax was down $17,000, but our use tax was up $67,000. Use tax are buying things on the internet, which we know a lot of people are buying things on the internet. It's also building materials being delivered at your house or furniture and that sort of thing. So for the month, we were up about 1.2%, 52,000, which is pretty flat overall. And then for the month of January, we were once again down just a little bit in our sales tax at 24,000, but our use tax was up 45,000. So for the month, we were up at 22,000, which is just about 0.5%. So the last 2 months are flat. It's, I've talked about this at the podium multiple times, that there's an expectation that at some point you reach the elasticity piece of microeconomics where, income reaches a point where you can't really spend any more than you can spend. And we've kind of reached that spot, and we've expected this, but we've planned for it as well. But flat is good. It's better than being negative, and compared to the rest of the metro, we're pretty much in the same boat as everyone else. So that is our sales tax. Next, Martin Luther King Prayer Breakfast, which was going to be Monday, has been rescheduled to the 29th of January, and I believe is 29th.
27th.
Okay, this says 29th. 27th, which is a Saturday. All right, same time. So January 27th at 7:30 a.m. at the Reed Conference Center. Retired Colonel Stephanie Wilson will be the featured speaker. Colonel Wilson is now the Director of Civil Engineering at Tinker Air Force Base. Very dynamic speaker and has a great story to tell. So please, if you're available, please come to the event. Tickets are $30 each, or a table for $300, and you get 8 people at a table. And you can go through the Eventbrite website at Midwest City Community Center, or see Don Meisch, our city attorney, also has tickets available, or any members of the committee. Trash services will, this is this one sentence, where is our Public Works Director? As scheduled? Okay. Daddy-daughter dance is coming up February 24th at the Community Center. We'll offer 3 sessions, and tickets will go on sale soon. For more information, contact 869-8622. And get your tickets early. A lot of times that event sells out. And then finally, last announcement, Greg Whiffley. Where's Greg? Can't see people. Come up to the podium so everybody can see you. So we're just introducing Greg tonight to the council. Greg is Assistant Police Chief. Sid Porter has retired, and I have appointed Greg as the interim chief. So Greg is... Greg has 29 years experience with the city of Midwest City and our police department. He's been through the FBI Academy, graduated from the school up north with the bright orange, and he's oversaw patrols, support services, then spent 25 years on special weapons and tactics. He serves as supervisor in the Special Investigations Unit, the SWAT team patrol, criminal investigations, and he's known statewide for doing the Council on Law Enforcement Education and Training regarding rapid response to active shooter training in schools and large buildings and events. So we are happy to have Greg as our interim, and he's been doing a great job as our assistant. So thanks, Greg.
Thank you.
Thanks, Greg.
You guys can put a name with the face that didn't know Greg. Mayor, that's all I have.
Thank you, Mr. Lyon. We now move into our consent agenda. These items are placed on the consent agenda so the council members, by unanimous consent, can approve routine agenda items by one motion. If any council member requests to discuss an item, or there's not unanimous consent, then the item will be removed and heard in regular order. The chair to entertain a motion.
Mr. Mayor, if I may be recognized, I'd like to pull consent item 6 for discussion, please.
I have a motion to pull item 6, but approve the rest of the consent agenda.
Yes, sir, I've left that out.
I've got a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstention? Motion carries. Item number 6, Mr. Lyon.
Discussion, consideration, possible action of 1, approval of the Land and Water Conservation Fund Project Agreement for the Mid-America Park Expansion Phase 2, 2 authorizations to submit the approval agreement and certifications to the Oklahoma Tourism and Recreation Department, and 3 authorization of the mayor and city manager enter into the necessary contracts to implement said project. Ms. Kraft and Mr. Bundy.
Honorable Mayor and Council, this is our agreement with the Oklahoma Tourism Department for our Land, Water, and Conservation Funds in the amount of $790,000 for Mid-America Park. Happy to answer any questions. And Brandon?
So this project is a 2018 GO bond project, and when it was presented to the vote of the people, it was a little bit underfunded for what the master plan laid out, and Ms. Kraft has found 2 grants from the federal government. This is the second round of grants, so it's taken a little bit longer because of those grants, but acceptance of this grant would allow us to have more funds for the park.
Thank you, and I want to thank both of you guys for championing this, especially Ms. Kraft, because I know you've worked diligently to secure us some federal funding to attempt to see this project through. But I've had some concerns about this, and I've been very grateful to the willingness of our city manager and the leadership of our vice mayor to conduct some meetings so that I could hopefully negotiate out some of those concerns. As said before, this is a 2018 GO bond project that is extremely delayed. The only other 2018 GO bond projects, aside from Mid-America Park, that are yet to be completed are the soccer fields, and the soccer fields are almost nearly halfway through. While the Mid-America Park had a 5-year plan and a master plan that cost taxpayers $241,411, we are now officially in year 6 and do not have enough funds to deliver the original master plan that was officially marketed to residents and taxpayers. The agenda item that appears before us as written offers a reduced scope that has deviated from the master plan and eliminated major aspects of the project, including the addition of an NCAA basketball court, 2 volleyball courts, a splash pad, prefabricated restrooms, a community garden, a sensory garden, and a pollinator. It has also reduced the size of the parking lot. The good news is, after meeting with the vice mayor, city manager, and staff, we reached an agreement to amend this item to include updating and refurbishing the existing basketball court for the time being, because it is utilized by a lot of the children and youth in Ward 5. I would like to remind my colleagues of a hopeful quote I came across in the Beacon from the mayor during the capital improvements tax elections last year. Quote, "We have a proven track record of doing exactly what we say we're going to do. We are good on our ward." I ask that we be good on our ward, which we gave to the residents and taxpayers during the 2018 GO bond proposals, by completing this project as we promised on paper and delivering the implementation of the original master plan. Therefore, I would like to make a friendly motion to amend the existing item to include refurbishing and revitalizing the existing basketball court, and to prioritize this pre-existing project, which we do not have funds for at this time, by making a commitment that Mid-America Park will be the first project to be completed, and it's according to the original master plan scope, through the recent sales tax that is directed towards capital improvements and parks.
One thing that is important to understand for not just the council but for the community is that when the master plan was first developed, it came in at $5.4 million. For whatever reason, the bond didn't come close to covering that amount that the voters voted on. It's been through the diligence of Terry and Brandon and some of the engineering that has gone on, value engineering, to make sure that the basic stuff that in order to complete the park is done first. And I think we're along that lines, and Ms. Banna's right, it's been delayed. Some of it has been delayed because of the cost. Some of it's been delayed because of, a lot of it's been delayed because of the cost, because Back then, it was 5.4 to do it completely, and that was 2016 money. And you can just imagine what it is now. So we're relying on you guys really heavily to find us the funds. So in the meeting that we had last week, Ms. Banna's correct that we did do some negotiations. And one of the things that she wanted was to make sure that we put it in writing to the citizens of Midwest City what our intent is. So based on that, if there's no other questions from anybody else or from the council, I have a motion to make, which will basically get.
I believe Ms. Banner's already made the motion, but if she would agree to amend it to your language, then we can move forward. So, Ms. Banner, are you? Yes, ma'am, absolutely.
I would like to amend the approval of this item as follows, based off of available funding and following the same practices and procedures that have been used to fund similar projects. The city manager should direct staff to repair and revitalize the current basketball court in Mid-America Park. Financing for the repair and revitalization shall be in the current or the fiscal year 24-25 budgets. Additionally, the purchase and installation of security cameras shall be included in the fiscal year 24-25 budget. The city manager shall direct staff to seek additional grant funding for the construction of the new basketball court. That's two. There's the refurbished one and the new one, and for permanent bathrooms at the park. If grant funding is not available, a phased project completion plan pursuant to the city council's approved park master plan, which is what we'll be working on off the sales tax, may be undertaken in the future budgets for this project.
Did you get that, Sarah? And I will accept that motion, but I once again appeal to this body, which is the official oversight body of these types of projects, that as this new sales tax and capital improvement item comes through and we get additional funding towards parks, that we distinguish the difference between this pre-existing project that has needs versus having this part go down on waiting in line to be appropriated through new consultation.
Duly noted.
Awesome. Thank you. I accept that. Thank you, guys.
So we do have a motion. Do I have a
Second.
second? I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstention? Motion carries.
Just so the council's clear, this was ran through the city attorney, so it's all kosher. It's not.
Yeah, it's on you, Don, if it's not.
Spotlight's on you, Mr. City Attorney. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, we now move into our discussion items for this agenda. Discussion item number 1, Mr. Lyon.
PC 2158, public hearing, discussion, consideration, and possible action for approval of the final plat of Parkway extension for the property described as a tract of the land being a part of the southwest quarter of Section 7, Township 11, North Range 1, west of the Indian Meridian, Oklahoma City, Oklahoma County, Oklahoma, located at 10301 Southeast 29th Street. Mr. Summers.
Thank you. This is an application for a final plat of the Parkway mobile home community. That's an expansion on the north side of the existing park, and they came before you all several months ago for preliminary plat approval, and they've complied with all those requirements. They reserved the railroad right-of-way, the old railroad right-of-way along the north side with both a conservation easement and a trail easement to preserve that for, I guess, in accordance with our trail master plan. They've completed the sidewalk and drainage that I mentioned in the staff report, that at the time that this went to Planning Commission was not yet completed. That has been completed at this time. And I did also want to note that it is located outside of the moratorium area. All state and local notice requirements were fulfilled, and we did receive 2 oppositions that were heard at the Planning Commission, but both of those who had filed letters of opposition stated that their concerns had been alleviated, and staff and planning commission both recommend approval of this application.
Matt, how many additional sites, mobile home sites, is this going to add?
Yeah, in their preliminary approval, they showed 76 sites.
And are they going to be low-income housing?
I don't know that it's specified, the
Okay, but
the
it's,
rental or
Okay.
price range, so I can't speak to that.
Statistically, mobile homes are highly utilized by low-income and minority communities.
which is something that I'm happy that we're approving.
I did want to note, I had one other item that came up last week that you may hear from some residents, but there was an issue that was brought to the city's attention. There was some neighbors on the north side that complained of a sewer smell last week. City staff from the code enforcement office and stormwater have both looked into that and worked with the property owner to begin rectifying that situation. But if you all have questions or the public has questions, the applicant or their consultants may be able to better address that.
This is a public hearing, ladies and gentlemen. Does anyone have anything to bring before the council considering this particular agenda item? Hearing or seeing none, the chair would entertain a motion to approve. Do you have anything to add, ma'am? Okay.
Second.
We have a motion and we have a second. Any further discussion? All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstention, motion carries. Item number 2, Mr. Lyon.
PC 2156, public hearing, discussion, consideration, possible action for a special use permit to allow automotive sales and rentals light in the C3 Community Commercial District for the property described as Lot 2 and the north 95 feet of the west 15 feet of Lot 3, McCorkle Park addition to Oklahoma County, Oklahoma, located at 224 South Air Depot, Midwest City.
Thank you.
Matt.
This is a special use permit application for auto sales at the site Mr. Lyons mentioned. If you all recall, back in June of '22, the applicant came before you requesting a similar permit. They stated that they needed 13 months to wrap up their sales at the site before they were going to close business. City Council granted them 18 months, and that 18-month period expired in December of 2023. So the applicant is before you requesting a new condition or new special use permit for a 12-month period for auto sales at the site. All state and local notification requirements were complied with. Staff did receive one opposition on this application, and that was from an adjoining tenant who had concerns about the parking and access along the frontage. Staff recommends denial of this application due to its incompatibility regarding parking access, outdoor storage, and guidance that the comprehensive plan provides regarding mid-block sort of areas in our mid-block. The Planning Commission also recommended denial of this application unanimously at their December meeting, and action is at the discretion of council.
Move to reject base, sorry.
And let's take it one step at a time. This is a public hearing. Does anyone have anything to bring before the council on this agenda item? Hearing none, the applicant is present. Sir, would you like to address the council?
Please. Paul Crossfield, 2224 South Air Depot. When the time limit ran up, additionally, I talked to the city, and I didn't factor this in, that our 50th anniversary of being in business in Midwest City was going to be April 1st of 2024. And so I just asked if we could extend it to April 1st, and they said no, have to go before the council. And I thought since we were going to have to come before the council again, I asked for a year. So if we can't do a year, if we could just please extend it to my 50-year anniversary of being in business in this city, I would greatly appreciate it, because I had a medical issue come up, and I missed 3 months of work in this past year, and so that put me way behind on getting things finished up, but basically that's where we stand now.
During the hearing that we had last year, I seem to recall that you told us that there wouldn't be any cars for sale parked out in front of the building, correct?
Correct.
Okay. I have been by there countless times because that's the main thoroughfare. And up till a couple of weeks ago, which was about the time it went to the Planning Commission, there was always cars parked out there with for sale signs. So that part of the bargain wasn't kept up. The other issue that I really have a big problem with is that is a very condensed area between the businesses and the residents. And I know it's through no fault of yours that there's residents there, but the times that I've gone by and I've driven into the back of your parking area, oftentimes I found it packed with cars. If that building that you're in ever caught on fire, I don't see how the fire department could get in there and either try to fight your fire or keep it from spreading into the neighborhoods. So my position on this is that we not allow it to go on, because I think that the report that is done by Matt specifies several good reasons why it doesn't occur. He asked for 12 months, we gave him 18, and it was with the understanding he would be done in 18 months. And especially since he assured us that he wasn't going to have any cars out front for sale. And he went by there almost every time I went by there. There was cars parked out there.
Some of the cars in the front, sir, belong to the dispensary next door, and they back them in right there.
No, they didn't.
And they
I
put for
went
sale,
by there.
and they put for sale signs on them? I'm
They
talking
didn't
about the
belong
ones
to
that
the
have for sale
dispensary.
signs on them.
Yeah, and unfortunately, I've had the similar experience because of the hearing we had last time. Your property now stood out in my mind, and on multiple occasions driving down. And I think that was the most disheartening thing, is a commitment and a negotiation that was made, and your failure to at least keep up with the very basic promise that was made, that your cars wouldn't be
Well, I
kept.
think what happened was I said, if need be, we can leave all the cars in the back, and I was never told that was what was going to happen in order to get the time. But I think if you go back and look at the video of the deal, I said, if need be, we can park in the back. If you go by there now, we have 4 cars in the back and 0 in the front, but the dispensary does have cars in the front. He's the one that protested the parking, and he's rebuilding used cars on the side of his building and selling them out of there without a license, without proper insurance. We have all of that stuff, but that's neither here nor there. That's another thing. But
You did tell us that you will put everything in the back, that way your 5 parking spots in the front will be for anyone that does come in. You specifically said, and I had what you had said to us 18 months ago pulled, so I could make sure. And that is one of the things that you said, is that you would keep the front open for parking, you wouldn't put any cars for sale out there. And I feel, Paul, and I've known you my entire life, I feel that you haven't been totally honest with me when you said you were going to do something and you haven't. You and my father have been friends for 60 years, and I'm a little bit disappointed that you said one thing and did another. Because I went to bat for you 18 months ago because a lot of the council didn't want to give this. And I feel like I told the council that you were going to do what you said, and you didn't. And that doesn't reflect as poorly on you as it does on me. And that's where I'm irritated. And I have known you my entire life. I had a crush on your oldest daughter when I was in junior high and high school. I feel that my reputation on this council has been stained a little bit by you not doing what you said you were going to do, because I told them that you would.
But that said, I'm going to, go ahead, Mayor, sorry.
Go ahead, I'm sorry.
I was going to second the Vice Mayor's motion to deny.
I have a motion and a second to deny the application Any further discussion? All in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Abstention? Motion carries. Okay, item number 3, Mr. Lyons.
Discussion, consideration, and possible action concerning various requests for hearings by Riverside Mobile Home Park. Mr. Maish.
Thank you, Mr. City Manager, members of the City Council. This is a request by Riverside Mobile Home Park, so at this time I'm going to step aside and let them do their presentation. I do believe, Mr. Mayor, that a couple of people have signed up on this very specific item. I would ask that they be allowed to speak. I'll be happy once everybody's done to come up, answer any questions, and present the city's position. But
Can I ask a question real quick? Why are we going to do a presentation when they haven't followed the rules or anything else? We just approved something for a mobile home park that's doing everything right. They've decided that forgiveness is easier than permission. So why are we giving them more time to waste at the council and the city when they didn't do what they were supposed to do, follow any of the codes or anything else?
Under city ordinance, if for the manufactured home ordinances, give them this right to have this hearing. So we do have to follow through with that process.
Thank you for explaining that.
Okay. So I'll have Mr. Morales come up and whomever he has to present Riverside.
Okay, I want to, Mr. Morales, would you state your name and address for the city council? Be advised that you didn't sign up, but since you are the owner of the park, you do have the other 2 residents that signed up to speak. So we're giving you latitude to speak, and you have 4 minutes.
Very good. Thank you for having me, and my name is Justin Morales. The property here is Riverside Community, and that's 6644 Sable Street here in Midwest City. I am the owner of the property. I've been the owner now for 4 years, and I appreciated Mr. Reed's comments about needing affordable housing. That's what we're trying to do, is provide safe, affordable housing. We've brought in about 41 units. We have always followed the codes. We've always done that. This is a little bit washy what happened there, and so that's why I'm here today. So I brought in 10 homes, and from a company called Hitch, because we were buying new homes, and those were coming in at $70,000 to $80,000 to the end user, and we found that was too expensive for them. So I went out to try to source some used homes that could be fixed. I did bring pictures, but unfortunately that wasn't allowed, which I wasn't aware of the after pictures. I have asked that Rick Rice, the attorney that was helping in between this, I was asked to de-annex from the city into the county. And in the meantime, Rick Rice, and I have his email that said I could continue to work on these homes, continue to finish them, and the city would turn a blind eye and not have any citations. And I have that email. I'd be happy to distribute or pass on to you guys. So we continued to work on the homes. We've been asking for inspections. We've been asking to get the utilities turned on.
Did you just move one in last Friday that wasn't up to code that you're fixing there as well?
No, sir.
You did in the past week or 2 do that?
No, sir. No.
Okay, I was told that you did.
No. So we've always, and so in the 41 homes that we've moved in, we have never once had an issue. We've never once had any kind of citations, any kind of notices. And so we continued to move forward as we always have and has always been allowed to. And so when we came in, we brought the 10 homes in. We started to set them, skirt them, tie them down, attach decks, do all that stuff that we have always done, because that's what has always worked in the past. We've never had an issue. No, right here in Riverside Community in Midwest City, we brought in 41 homes. Yes, sir. And so we've never had an issue, so we didn't do anything. We've always pulled demo permits to make sure that we could demolish homes because we're trying to clean up the community. We've always got our electric, our water, our gas permits, make sure everything's in compliance. Of the 10 homes we brought in, Randall came and inspected 3 that we had been working on. All 3 of those homes were approved because we fixed them. We want them to be nice homes. The pictures you saw is not a representation of what we're selling. And I know Sarah has gone through the community and has looked at them. And I had pictures to show you the HD razzle-dazzle of before pictures that are terrible that you saw, and the house with brand new linoleum, brand new kitchens, countertops, paint, and everything. And that's, I wasn't allowed to show that, which is sad. But I'm here to tell you they're beautiful homes that we're trying to sell the communities. We brought in more affordable homes so we could try to fix the low inventory and disrepair. I'm a small independent operator. I'm not a hedge fund. I'm not from New York. I don't have hedge funds behind me. So we've spent over $500,000 on these homes to bring them in that I've been paying interest on. And that interest has been costing about $8,000 to $9,000 a month to try to carry these homes and get them approved. And so in the meantime, when Rick was trying to help us de-annex from the county, from the city to the county, they have a regulation. We're in a floodplain out there, and they require 1 foot higher in the floodplain. And so we would have to basically take the whole trailer apart, lift the home. That'd be a cost of about $5,000. So about $35,000 for all 7 homes that are remaining. And that's when we said, hey, can we just get these approved, get our utilities on before we did the de-annexation? And that's where we find ourselves today, is 7 homes completely turnkey ready. Some of you may have seen the news that was through there that took pictures of those very homes that are in great condition, that we have people that are interested in buying, but we can't do anything until those homes utilities are turned on. So, is
Mr.
that
Morales,
my
your
timer?
4 minutes
Yeah.
has expired. Does the council wish to hear more from Mr. Morales?
Yeah, those are all built to code, and so with mobile homes, you're actually not allowed to attach them to the frame. I would be more than happy to address that and more than happy to take care of that. Those have not, we have not got any inspections. We've been told that we can't do anything else, so they have not been corrected.
I don't like word games. I didn't ask you
They have
if
not
you
been
had
fixed. No,
inspections.
sir.
If I ask you a question, please just answer that question.
No, sir, they have not been corrected, but they will.
That's not difficult to answer, was it?
No, sir.
Thank you. So you then put in and had plumbing done, and electrical work that I see in every community I've ever been in. Before you go and lay the box down, you get a permit. But you guys put these boxes down without permits. There's not a single community I know of that you can go do that without a permit.
And so, again, we've always put those down, and we
So
didn't
you've always
attach
done it
them.
wrong, and we just figured it out.
No, we didn't attach them to the house. So the permitting is actually from the house to the connection, and those haven't been done. The boxes have been installed by licensed electricians, as well as the plumbing that's stubbed there and ready to be attached to the house, but they have not been attached because obviously we haven't got the permits from the city to do so.
Sean, I also have a question, and maybe it's for the city attorney. There is an ordinance that I came through, I think it's 23-92, where it says no construction or addition or alteration to the exterior of a manufactured home located in a manufactured home park shall be permitted unless the same type of construction or materials as the manufactured home is affected. So to what Sean is saying, if the hookup wasn't done and he's just replacing equipment was there and updating it, and I understand that you were basically denied permits.
Yep.
So you were kind of in a limbo situation. And something you said earlier, in our code, the property owner, any property owner, has a right to this hearing to appeal
Gotcha.
any notice of
That's why I
violation.
asked Don.
So I believe that's what this man is doing. And I know that initially there was a request made in May for permits. I think it was in July of 24th when an inspection was actually completed. Then there was a notice of violation that was issued on August 15th. In September, the property owner requested a hearing, which we're finally having. There was a phase of negotiations that obviously failed. And so, I know you're frustrated, but...
I'm frustrated when you ask a question and you don't get an answer.
Yeah,
You're tap dancing around and saying, well, the inspection hasn't been done. I like somebody to answer a question, not somebody BS their way through and hope that we don't realize that he's throwing BS at us.
No, I respect that, and I don't want to allege that he's BSing. I expect him to be transparent, and if he's not, he's going to be found out for being deceitful. Now, the issue with the stairs, obviously if inspectors go out there and determine that that is still something that needs to be fixed, those are the smaller things.
We've got electrical, we've got plumbing that have been done under without any permits. We've got a bunch of stuff that's been done without permits with the forgiveness is easier than permission mindset. We're not allowed to bring dilapidated mobile home parks, mobile homes in the city of Midwest City and fix them on the property. It's code. I mean, we got that.
And that's a code from my understanding when I read the mobile home associations, that there are a lot of ordinances that are being utilized across the state as, and I would hate to call it, but the terminology was discriminatory practices to reduce these types of
We just passed 75 new mobile homes.
But that doesn't mean that we may not have unintended policies that are causing unintended
Well,
effects.
the overarching issue in any municipality, and we've had this discussion before, is the quality and safety of the life of our citizens.
Absolutely.
And the reason the inspection exists is to ensure that these homes aren't fire hazards, aren't
Absolutely.
public health hazards of any way, shape, or form. And that's why the permitting system is in place.
Absolutely.
Unfortunately, whether it's a lack of communication on our part or lack of communication on Morales' part, none of this got done. And then the onus falls back on the city to ensure that these homes are safe. Just like an argument, or not an argument, but a discussion I had the other day, we can't unsee a crime. So if we allowed him to move forward and we have a family burn up because inadequate wiring or a faulty wiring, then we then become, as a municipality, complacent with that fatality. So we can sit here and argue all day about ordinances and whether or not, obviously, there's an issue, Mr. Morales.
Yeah. And that's what I'm asking, is come do the inspections and come check and make sure everything's done correctly. That's
what I would ask now is that the building official come up and talk to us about.
Before you do that, Mr. Mayor, may I make one point to all of this? And that is, you referenced the the Manufactured Homes Association of Oklahoma documents. One of the things that they mention at the beginning of their document is manufactured homes are one of the most federally regulated types of homes in the nation. In fact, they're probably the only type of home that is regulated by the federal government. HUD has standards for those. I can tell you that if we received information, if manufactured homes were brought into Riverside Mobile Home Park or any other, understand, we have 7 other mobile home parks in this city other than Riverside. So we have 8 total here. So to use an argument that this is a discriminatory practice, this type of ordinance, that's just incorrect. We have 8 different mobile home parks in this city, let alone the fact that I did look, and Del City has an ordinance that's very similar. Oklahoma City has an ordinance that's, except for formatting, is identical to the one that we have. But what the point I want to make is, if Riverside, and you heard Mr. Morales even reference it, if Riverside brought in manufactured homes that met current HUD requirements, we'd permit them tomorrow.
And all these homes do
no
have
doubt.
HUD tags. They're
The only reason, and you heard him say it, it costs too much money.
So
Period. That's the period end of statement.
Yeah.
And if you want to bring in manufactured
$80,000
homes,
a piece for brand new. It's too expensive, so you source them less expensive where you had to fix them
And
up.
I
Because
believe
that's
you
what the
follow-
market wants, you're correct.
And-
Yep.
and that the
But that was
consumers
your
could
bottom
not
line for your
afford them.
ROI. That's
No,
what you
it
figured
doesn't
your
change.
ROI was
I
gonna
actually
be.
I actually make more money on a more expensive home than I do on a used home.
Okay, I think we need to move on. We do have other people that have signed up to speak.
I still have one more question for the city attorney. There's also, I came across section 23-2 that talks about grandfathering certain property that may, because the ordinance that we're talking about, and I hear you, in that packet that was attached to our memo, it says many municipalities and counties across the state have that, and it's an issue that the legislature needs to address. But in 23-2, there was a segment about grandfathering certain properties that were built before 1985. And this property has been in existence since 1968. So would this property potentially be exempt from this ordinance?
No, because the ordinance was in effect prior to 1968, number one. Number two, when we adopted the ordinances, the very next day, I went back and checked, believe it or not, I went back on this property and checked all of the property records. They changed the name of the mobile home park the very next day, and then petitioned to be annexed into the city of Midwest City back in the 1960s, the day after we adopted the ordinances. In other words, the mobile home park in and of itself made a decision back in the day to be a part of the city and be regulated under these ordinances by their very actions, by changing their name, and then by requesting to be annexed into the city. So no, they would not be grandfathered in. In fact, they specifically, the previous owners, not Mr. Morales, but the previous owners specifically intended to be regulated by these ordinances.
Mr. Morales, could I ask you to step down for a minute and get the other two young ladies that are here to speak? Ms. Newcomb, you want to come and address the council?
My name is Dwayna Newcomb, and I live at 6601 Sable in Riverside Community. And I thank you for letting me have the opportunity to speak tonight. I've lived in Riverside Community for many years. There was a break from 2012 to 2016, but I'm back. I also assisted with the disaster relief in 2013 when the park flooded. I'm the person who made the call to Sandridge Energy, who came using the trucks and drained the park of the standing water. I'm coming today in many capacities, mainly as a resident of Riverside. In the past 4 years, I've witnessed and been a part of great growth in the community. There have been improvements in actually some of the homes that have been empty for many years, even before the last owner, Stephen Polinko, had the park, are beautiful and occupied. There have been multiple times when the community has come to the rescue of each other to build community. There are 31 homes brought in between 2020 and 2022, which Brandon did the floodplain elevation on, and have added many more families that have become homeowners rather than renters. When figuring out what I want to need to say in my 4 minutes as a citizen and resident of Riverside Community, I thought I would check out what the mission and vision statement of the City of Midwest City was. The mission is to maximize the quality of life for our citizens through professional services, proper management of existing resources, and appropriate planning. I believe that in the whole big picture, while the community is not perfect and there are homes that need to have something done, the vision of Riverside Community owner is to provide a safe, clean, affordable housing community. It takes time to undo about 20 years of unkept homes. To work toward fixing them up and increasing the community, it takes bringing new homes in. With the economy as it is, bringing in brand new homes at a cost of almost $100,000, with the cost of the home, setting, skirting, decking, and AC systems that's not included in the cost of a new home is not a feasible option to provide the affordability issue. Two other things I found in reading of the history of Midwest City is this. Midwest City places great importance on the quality of life issues such as public safety, recreational opportunities, and cultural events. Community leaders have developed a diverse economic base that has helped the city through some of the country's most difficult economic times. Midwest City has preserved a hometown feeling while offering all the conveniences of a big city. We are in a difficult economic time. While everyone was worrying about the economy in 2020, 2021 with COVID, Riverside was busy adding tax-paying citizens to the Midwest City consistency. This is the most difficult time that our area has seen in many years. Code enforcement has not been out in a couple years. Before they visited in March, we were expecting them. And for owners such as I am, they helped because the tenants were not responded as they needed to for the managements for cleanup. The residents were given phone numbers to help them with paint resources, and many of them could not reach the people at that number and that were supposed to help them, and one was told they don't give paint for mobile homes. After that 2-week visit and a large number of notices, the residents and management were given. There was a flurry of activity to repair, replace, and fix the problem. Because they were unable to get reached by phone, the program that helped with paint supplies, many were not able to get their homes painted. However, there were many, many improvements made in the community at that time. Again, it takes time to undo about 20 years of unkept homes. We're here tonight because we want to have the community that's being built, and we have no idea exactly what the problem is. It has problems that needed fixed, and we get that. I get that. However, even if it's slow progress, there's progress being made. Compared to how the park was when the previous owner was here, there is vast improvement. It is my understanding that the only thing that can be placed in the floodplain is mobile homes because they can be set according to the correct height. 1 foot above floodplain level in Midwest City. The county is 2 feet. It is my understanding that all manufactured homes that are set above 48 inches, may I finish?
Yes, ma'am, go ahead.
It is my understanding that all manufactured homes that are set above 48 inches are to be double blocked and with special tie downs. It's my understanding that to move a home anywhere, the mover must have a state-issued license and permit for even every street they travel on throughout the through the Department of Transportation. It's my understanding, after speaking to the former owners before Stephen Plinko, who would have been here tonight but had a medical procedure last week and could not make it, that an inspection of the home before it entered the park by Midwest City officials has never been required in the past. It is my understanding that the code that's being presented to follow is a code established in 1968. According to what I saw in the report of 2022, the codes that were supposed to be updated. In 2020, this is quote, in 2023, Mr. Maish will continue working toward the adoption of the urban renewal plan for Heritage Park Mall property, updating the city's coordinates and providing resolutions regarding issues that are widespread for all residents. I want to live in a community where we are part of a neighborhood, we are part of a city, and we're part of a state. I want to figure out how we can fix this problem so we can continue to grow, because with every new family person that moves into our community, we become more stable, and there are more opportunities to become an established old-fashioned neighborhood like in the olden days. Have you heard of blue zones? One of the characteristics of a blue zone area, which is an area of an increased population of older people, is the idea of community, purpose, and the ability to have something to participate.
Not to be rude, Ms. Newcomb, but
I have
can
2
you
more
wrap it up?
sentences.
All
I have
right.
2 more sentences. This is just one of the things Riverside community is providing to the people. Please just tell us how to fix this reasonably and be willing to listen and negotiate. And I can promise that Riverside community will begin to shine in our community.
Thank you for being here, Ms. Newcomb. Ms. Smith, Sherry Smith. Did I get your last name right?
No, sir, but that's quite all right.
Well, I apologize.
Yes, that's
I'm an
okay.
Okie. Go
My name
ahead,
is
ma'am.
Sherry Schlunt. I live at 6704 Zebra Street in Midwest City. I've lived at Riverside for 3 years. During this time, I've become very involved with the community outreach that is offered at Riverside Community. Did you know that they built a pavilion for the kids to catch the bus so that they'd be protected by the weather? They also built a playground almost as soon as the new owner bought the place 4 years ago, I'm told. Did you know that they delivered meals door to door for a year for the kids while the schools were shut down for COVID? And procured food for every family on property after the October 2020 ice storm that left everyone without power for a week? Did you know that they opened a community center where they have made available to families for memorial services, funeral dinners, birthday parties, and any time a family needs a place to gather? That community center was opened when COVID hit, and they knew the kids would need a place for Wi-Fi to do their schoolwork. When a family was displaced one night because of a fire, the community center offered a safe, warm place to wait for their help from the Red Cross, with neighbors helping to bring coats, blankets, and clothes to help them. There have been community Thanksgiving dinners in the community center. There is a weekly dinner on Thursday nights for anyone who is hungry or just needs fellowship. There is a Bible study afterwards, but not required. Did you know that for years they have provided an extra Christmas gift to every kid, and Santa did the delivering? Did you know that this year, in the incredible hardship of this economy, we were able to obtain community support for donations and provided a place for the parents to come shop for their kids and then wrap the gifts to take them home to their own trees. A party was held where the Grinch distributed stuffed animals and stockings for the kids. We also provided a store for the kids to shop for their parents or grandparents, a bus ride for the older folks to look at Christmas lights, and then 38 baskets that we made for the older people, shut-ins, disabled, and alone folks for the holiday season. There's also a huge Easter egg hunt every year. We've hosted outside movie nights, game nights, monthly birthday parties, and we give birthday cards to every adult on their birthday. We've given families startup furniture, dishes, appliances, anything that could be needed for starting a home. When donations come of clothes, furniture, housewares, baby stuff, they are immediately distributed. We have a food pantry for those whose money doesn't match the days until payday. One year when Ebenezer Baptist Church found a huge donation of meat and vegetables, they called us. That day, one of the residents donated a chest freezer to put it all in, but it was so much we delivered it door to door as well. St. Christopher's Episcopal Church brings bread from Panera Bread to distribute weekly. One year there was a community garden. The next year there was a rototiller available that we tilled up space in everybody's yard so that they could have ownership of their own gardens. We welcome mission teams and volunteer groups and look forward to working again this year with the UCO Big Event, which sends college students out to sites to do community service, doing everything from picking up trash to painting decks to building a walkway to help an older lady get back and forth from her car. In the middle of this is a group of people who long to live in a neighborhood where people know their neighbors and they are not afraid to knock on their door and ask for a cup of sugar. Because of the changes to the actual physical property and the fact that the growth indicates progress, the residents of Riverside community are hopeful and proud of their community. We know there are problems and we are willing to help if we can fix any problems. We ask that you give us a chance where there is no question of what is wanted or needed. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, ma'am, for being here.
I have a question for Don, if I may, and Shane might need to be a part of this. I asked this gentleman specifically if they'd moved in a new trailer that they were working on. He said no. There's a new trailer that was moved in that was not permitted that they're working on the roof. Is that correct or incorrect? I'm asking the owner, ma'am.
According to code enforcement went out there last week on about 200 and how many, Mike, notices?
To answer you directly, we were out in March. The trailers were moved in June or July. The trailer that you saw that Shane was talking to, the roof was put on, was moved in June or July, not last week.
We do not have another person that would like to speak to this particular subject. Mr. Thompson, you want to address the council?
My name is Mark Thompson, 212 Country Club Terrace. I'm impressed that it seems to be a very cohesive community. However, I speak to commend code enforcement on the job they've done identifying the problems there. I drove by the place today. It's a wreck. It's an embarrassment to Midwest City that such a place exists in our city limits, in my opinion. And I would encourage the city council to hold any new development in abeyance until code enforcement has been fully satisfied that that's a safe place to live. That's their job, and they've obviously identified issues. And to second guess them, especially given the obvious visual appearance of the place, is almost insulting. They have identified problems. I think we should recognize that those problems are real, and until they are satisfied, it doesn't make any difference what anybody else feels. It's unsafe. And so I would encourage you to give code enforcement the nod this time and let the development commence only after they're satisfied.
Thank you, Mr. Thompson, I appreciate it.
If there are no other speakers, Mayor, do we have any other public speakers?
No, ma'am. And I was going to ask Mr. Mates to address the council on way forward.
I want to make something kind of clear. The city has been, we've been very clear in what we've requested of Riverside Mobile Home Park ever since this started. Number one, do not bring in dilapidated, wrecked, damaged, manufactured homes. That violates the city ordinance. Two, to move any structure like this within the corporate city limits of the city of Midwest City requires a permit from the city to move them in. And three, if any manufactured home that is brought into the city of Midwest City needs to meet the federal requirements. Been clear on that since back in July. And I can tell you that Mr. Rice came, you've heard Rick Rice's name mentioned a couple times. Mr. Rice came with a couple of offers, and we have stuck to that position, to the point that I know Mr. Rice made a couple of recommendations to Riverside Mobile Home Park. The one thing I did agree to was, while negotiations were ongoing, that I knew that there were violations and notices out there, that we would not move forward on those until such time as negotiations were completed. If a recommendation, and you've heard the term de-annexation, if that recommendation were to have been fulfilled, then our notices would have gone away through that process. So we've been very clear on that. Now, they have continued to do work out there, to the point that even this past week, they've been still doing work. Do they have permits to do any of that work? No. Do we have manufactured homes out there that, in my opinion, meet federal requirements? No. What did we ask them to do when we first discovered them was to remove the mobile homes from the corporate city limits of the city of Midwest City, and then if they wanted to make repairs and bring information to us showing that those met federal requirements, we would have them brought back in. Mind you, corporate city limits of the city of Midwest City out there are probably only a few thousand feet. It's not like we're asking them to move them 5 miles or 10 miles. If they wanted to move them, I'm sure, I know we would have given them the permit to move those. That did not occur. And we continue today with this process. Yes, we did get hearing requests in September. They were held in abeyance during negotiations. When negotiations were deemed they weren't going to work, I sent an email to Mr. Morales on November 7th, telling him that it looked like they weren't going to work, reiterated our position again that I've stated, and said, do you want to have these hearings on the December city council meeting or in January? Did not hear a word from him until December 21st.
Don, I have a question.
Sure.
We're not trying to close.
No, we're not trying to close
Okay.
the trailer park. We're not trying to stop any of the activity you heard the last lady speak about. Doing that is wonderful work. That is wonderful things to do. We would encourage that. We're in no way, shape, or form looking to close the trailer park. All we're dealing with are those 10 trailers that they brought in. Now, the chief building official found 3 of them in proper enough shape that he did not deem them at that time when he inspected them in July as wrecked, damaged, or dilapidated, and they were allowed to move forward. They were allowed to get their permits. It was the other 7 that are at issue here, as well as the notices that were submitted by code enforcement. There were some 294 out of those 79 citations were issued. Am I correct on that? 73 citations were issued. Numbers are a little off. So that is where we're at right now, is dealing with the citations, dealing with those 7 trailers.
And the 115 pictures that are in our agenda, I'm assuming you didn't take them.
Those were taken by our chief building official back in July of last year.
But those are consistent with the way it is, correct? Okay.
but not consistent with the way it is today, because all of those homes, and that's where we have to be, the factor of accountability comes in. There has been work being done.
Without
and-
permits.
Without
Without
permits,
permits.
yes, as the city attorney clarified, but the conditions are not in what is in our packet currently.
And all we're requesting is, if you want to work on the trailers, move them out of the city. And we'll give the permit to do that. There's 7 trailers.
Can I?
So I got a stupid question. The 7 trailers, I'm going to try and give him some benefit of the doubt. If those 7 trailers are fixed like he says, and the building inspector goes out and says they're fixed and they pass inspection, he wouldn't have to move them. Is that correct?
Well, now you're allowing a violation of city ordinance because they should never have been placed there in the first place.
Then I'm against it.
Yeah, and plus, they were moved in without permit.
I would still like to make a motion, and I understand some of you may be opposed to it simply because of the fact that there is a violation, but it is my understanding that this body does have the authority to grant mercy and also have modify the ordinance based on a case-by-case situation. So I would like to ask for a modification to the ordinance or code and carve out an exception for this property on this matter at this time, and to follow up with inspections on the 7 properties in question and issue permits as deemed appropriate, and that if the property owner moves another property on site without the permission and approval of the city officials, that the city has the power through these codes to come and take your license and permit away to even operate as a mobile home in Ward 5 in this municipality. So that is, and I make that motion with the hope of negotiating towards a peaceful resolution for the residents in the community and the potential 7 future tenants that
They
could
spent
occupy
several
those.
months negotiating and never got anywhere.
And again, that was a decision made by staff to allow the negotiations, because if this matter had come before council back then, right, we could have told the property owner, you are not allowed to move any further property on here.
Yeah,
You're
but
shut
our
down."
code says he's not allowed. So we don't need to make a vote on telling him that he's not allowed to do what the ordinances already say he's not allowed to do.
Mr. H., correct me if I'm wrong, and please do, but my statement that we hold on to a vicarious liability if, in fact, we let this go on unchecked without meeting current code and building corrections, correct?
I have seen those arguments made before. There are defenses to them, but that is a risk that would be undertaken. I'm sure that somebody would make those arguments again in the future.
From parliamentary position, we do have a motion on the floor. Does Ms. Banna's motion have a second? Does Ms. Banna's motion have a second? Hearing none, the motion fails. Due to the lack of a second, the chair would entertain a motion to deny. I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
What? Hold on. I already know. Do a roll call vote
So we're voting
to deny the appeal.
Correct?
To deny the appeal.
Correct. Ward 2,
Yes.
Ward 3,
Yes.
Ward 4,
Yes.
Ward 5,
Nay.
Ward 6,
Yes.
Mayor.
Yes. Thank you all for being here. Ms. Morales, I would strongly encourage that you continue to engage with the City of Midwest City as for a path forward. Thank you for being here. Ladies and gentlemen, we now move into new business public discussion. Does anyone have anything to bring before the council? Chris Horton signed up to address council. Are you still here, Chris? Please state your name and address, and you have 4 minutes, Chris.
My name is Chris Horton. Address, well, I have properties in Ward both 2 and 3. I'll give you the address, 1616 Albert Drive, over by Carl Albert High School. I'm about to sell it here soon, so that's kind of what I came to talk about. That's what brought me here. I thought it was a mistake, but apparently, from what I'm hearing from other real estate investors and business owners, maybe it's not. Because I had a run-in with code enforcement a couple of weekends ago, or a couple of months ago. And, well, I knew it had to be a mistake because they didn't contact me. They just sent some letters to my vacant home because I had taken the month of October off to liquidate some assets outside of Midwest City and move here. And I know they have my contact information because on the citation, they pulled it from the water over here. And it had my phone number and my primary address, social security number, but they couldn't get a hold of me. So I thought there wasn't a mistake. But code enforcement apparently doesn't even have a policy on how they're supposed to do it. They just go by the code. Apparently they've been misreading it. Because when I got arraigned over here in the courthouse, I saw 5 other real estate investors and people that shouldn't have been there. They're good people. I'm really disappointed. I had a huge idea of what the city was doing. You guys ruined it. Forgive me, I don't public speak. This is the first time I public speak since my wedding.
It's quite all right.
Like 17 years ago. So, but I'm pretty upset, and I was really angry because my rights got violated. I wasn't given due process, but I forgave the code enforcers because I know city employees and public people, you guys all have the public's best interest at heart. You guys took oaths of office. You guys swore to the Constitution. You guys said you would protect the people. You would protect our rights, man. You're chasing people who are trying to provide housing out of our city. I'm about to leave. Like, I just moved 2 years ago into my other house, my primary house over in Ward 3. I was going to make that my forever home, and now I'm questioning it. My wife and I have been talking a lot about this because I can't live in a city that treats its citizens this way. I came here because I thought it was a mistake, and now I'm real mad, and I'm trying to focus it into something positive because I came here to offer you my services because I have a pretty good resume on helping solve problems and fix problems, and I came to offer my services to see if you guys had a board that maybe would help with the liaisons between the city and the residents. And you guys can't even Google for 50 seconds and get a code enforcement manual? I called and talked to the head code enforcement manual. His name's Jeff. He's a super nice guy. Everybody I've talked to has been a nice person. So I don't have any animosity towards any of you guys, but I'm really disappointed. I don't know if you guys allow people to submit anything for the record in here or not, but if not, this is Wagner County. It's all you have to do is policy code enforcement manual.
Go ahead and give it to Mr. Mach, and we'll make sure it gets entered into the record.
Like, the first step is voluntary compliance. Why aren't code enforcement officers, even in your own codes and orders, because I've read them, their first priority is to contact the property owner. That's it. They have the full investigatory authority.
I don't mean to be rude. Let me interrupt you for a minute. Is it the wishes of the council to extend Mr. Horton's time? Y'all have a unanimous? Yes. Okay, go ahead, Mr. Horton.
All right, well, I appreciate it, because
Point taken. Mr. Horton, due to the fact, and I should have explained this prior, I usually do, due to the fact that this is not an agenda item, we cannot engage in a back and forth discussion with you on your particular issue, but we will take note of it and if we need to contact you for further information, we will do so. So, with that being said, you have 2 more minutes. Go ahead.
Okay. Well, my email address is cuda096@gmail.com. That's Charlie Umbrella Delta Alpha 096@gmail. And say, if you guys want to try to come up with a plan, maybe for like what our city could be, some great interactive things, maybe that we could solve some real problems, I would love to help you guys do that. And also, maybe after the meeting or something, since I don't have time, I'd really like to walk through the code with your attorney, because the code enforcers aren't following the rules. And say everybody I was in the courtroom with over there, there was 12 or 15 people getting shoved through there, and 8 of them didn't have citations. It says in your code, when a code enforcement officer fills out a citation, whoever the citation is, they're supposed to sign it. They're not doing that. That means you have to get contact. It says they shall have it signed, and they shall give me a copy. I never got a copy. I got a summons in the mail, and then I had to go down, because I knew it was a mistake, I went down to the courthouse to try to explain, oh, I never got a call, so I don't even know what this is about. And it turns out they're trying to get $470-something out of me because I might have had some tall weeds in my backyard behind a privacy fence. Like, what are you guys doing? Like, I'm very disappointed. And if there's any other citizens that might see this, either online or in the audience, please feel free to contact me, because I would love to work with you as well, because I'm interested in setting up a nonprofit organization and perhaps following some rules that are set out in the charter to get some changes made in the council, because I'm pretty upset. Thank you very much.
Thank you for being here, Mr. Gordon. Does anyone else have anything to bring before the council under new business? Hearing or seeing none, we hereby adjourned. I call to order the Midwest City Municipal Authority. We do have a consent agenda for this authority. These items are placed on the consent agenda so the trustees, by unanimous consent, can approve routine agenda items by one motion. If any trustee requests an item to discuss an item, or if there's not unanimous consent, the item will be removed and heard in regular order. The chair would entertain a motion to approve.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstention? Motion carries. We now move into new business public discussion. Does anyone have anything to bring before the authority? Hearing or seeing none, we hereby adjourn, and I call to order the Midwest City Hospital Authority. Once again, we have a consent agenda attached. These items are placed on the consent agenda so the trustees, by unanimous consent, can approve routine agenda items by one motion. If any trustee requests an item to discuss an item, or unanimous consent cannot be received, then the item will be removed and heard in regular order. Chair to entertain a motion to approve.
Move to approve.
I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstention? Motion carries. We now move into new business public discussion. Does anyone have anything to bring before the authority? Hearing or seeing none, we are hereby adjourned. Thank you for being here this evening.
What happened on that Elbert deal, they were over there on that, they were over there on that crazy lady, and he got caught up in that. Remember the one that was complaining about the tall weeds in the backyard? When they do the block? That address is, he got caught up in that.
Good or bad?